I was recently working on an old radio and I noticed that there were quite a few bad 6H6s, both in old radios and new old stock and poles. And I'm thinking that they're going to air. And as soon as you power them up, the filaments go open. There's no way to tell, of course, because it's this little stubby metal tube. So today I'm going to make a 6H6 to 6AL5, which is the same. They're both like an FM detector, and the specs are the same. The heater current and the specs are the same. The 6AL5 is the newer miniature version. So I'm going to whip up a quick adapter. So the first thing is we need a base like this to make our adapter. So I've just bent the crimps back on one of these 6AL5s and pulled the base out. And now the next step is to get the solder out all of these. And you could do this with any tube. In fact, a tube with a base like this might be better. But since this is experimental, I'm just going to use this one. Here's our 7-pin miniature tube socket for the 6AL5, and here's our base off the 6F6, all cleaned up. The next step is to solder about 2 inches of this 18 gauge tinned copper onto 6 of the 7 leads here. We're not going to do anything with pin 6 because it's not used in the tube. That wire might have been a little bit too heavy. Maybe 20 gauge would be better. Okay, the next step is to try and feed these wires through the appropriate pins on here. They will fit. And it's just if there's going to be any overlap, we're going to have to put some kind of tubing. This is pretty much how everything lines up, and we have a bunch of crossing wires, so I need to put some heat shrink on those. And here's our finished product. And the lead length is probably longer than you'd want it, but this is pretty much just for test purposes. Here's a 6AL5, so let's pop it in the tester and see how it looks. So it tests good. Testing on pins 3 and 5, which are the 2 diodes. And no leakage and no shorts. And I'm testing it as a 6F6. I'm sorry, a 6H6. Hope I haven't been saying 6F6 through this whole video. It's a 6H6 dual diode. Let's try it in the radio. And it works relatively well. In fact, it works just as good as the 6H6. I also noticed when I turned this on that this tube, this is a series string set, that this tube really lit up bright, like it took the majority of the hit, and then it calmed down as the other tubes warmed up. So right now it's got 6.4 volts across the filament, but I bet it initially went up to close to 12, so that might be why the filaments are fried in several of these 6H6 metal tubes.